Okay, so since we have done the first part of non-discounted cash flow techniques, which is ROCE, now we are moving to the second part of your non-discounted cash flow techniques, which is payback period. Okay, so guys, I don't know whether you are familiar with payback period or not, but payback period is also another very simple area for your F9. Normally it's being asked in the section A and section B, for the most part section A, because like I say, it's a carry forward knowledge that you're expected to know. But sometimes I need to teach because not every student would have taken the foundation in financial management paper. So that's why I would need to teach each and every one of you. All right, so let me share my notes. Where's my share screen? Okay, so here, the payback period. So I always like to ask my students this question: what is the payback period? What are you calculating when you do the payback period calculation, right? And what would you need to focus on when you do the payback period calculation? Okay, guys, I just want you to remember this. Payback period, it uses the concept of cash flow. Okay, I know I have not taught you relevant cost concept yet, but I'll teach you payback period first, then I will move to cash flow. I hope you don't mind, because payback period is very simple. I will just teach you the calculation, I'll teach you how it works, and then after that I will teach you how to identify whether it's a cash flow or not. So for the moment, at the moment, I'm just going to give you very simple, straightforward calculations first, right? Now, so what is the payback period? Okay, so alternative to the ARR, okay, or it's not an alternative actually, it's on top of the ARR. There is another method that can be used to calculate the non-discounted cash flow technique. So this technique is called the payback period. So what does the payback period calculate? Okay, the payback period actually measures the amount of time taken for the investment to recoup the project, to recoup the initial investment. Okay, so it's calculating the number of years taken to recoup the initial investment. So what does it mean? It means that you are actually calculating how many years will it take before you get back the amount that you have invested, right? So when I say how long would you take to get the amount that you have invested, what is the concept that I would use? Okay, I would use the cash flow concept. Okay, you must remember that when you calculate the amount of time taken to recoup the initial investment, you are calculating the time in terms of years, right? So years, that means 2 years, 2.3 years, sometimes you can have 2 years and 5 months, right? So normally you need to calculate it in terms of years, but there will be a time where you need to use years and months, depending on the question, depending on what examiner asks you. All right, so my question to you: is it better if you take a longer time to recoup your investment, or is it better if you take a shorter time to recoup your investment? Obviously, it's better if you take a shorter time to recoup your investment, because when you take a shorter time to recoup your investment, it means that your project is giving you back the amount that you have invested faster than you expect. That means the amount of investment will be given back, will be paid back to you in a shorter time frame. So that's good. That means you get back your money faster. Rather than you wait for 10 years, then only you get back your money, you get it back within 3 years. So that's the concept of payback period. So there is a format or formula that I can use for me to be able to calculate the payback period. How do I do it? Your format has year, net cash flow, and cumulative cash flow. Year column always start from year 0, then only you do whatever number of years there, right? Net cash flow is cash inflow minus cash outflow, and you have cumulative cash flow. Cumulative cash flow is your net cash flow. Okay, so let's say you start here 100,000. Your cumulative cash flow plus your second year net cash flow, you will get your cumulative cash flow. So you need to calculate it one by one. Don't worry, I will show you. Actually, a bit difficult to say it. which year. Okay, but when I show you, I think it will be much easier for you to understand and much easier for me to show as well. And then when you want to identify which year it pays back, okay, it depends on the number of years and the number of months, or the number of years. So always remember to identify the number of years. You look at the year with the negative cumulative cash flow. That means the year where it is final negative cumulative cash flow. Your months will be, to calculate number of months, you take the final year with the negative cumulative cash flow. The following year net cash flow, you divide, multiply by 12 months. Okay. Now, so if I were to give you an example of this, okay, let's do an example and then we'll come back and continue and complete the theory, right? So let me share my screen. So guys, go to your lecture examples. It's my, yes, lecture example here. Okay, here, payback period. I'm not going to do this first, okay? I'm going to do this one first. Okay, so you have an initial investment of 6.2 million. He asked you to calculate the payback period. This is your cash inflow. Now, to do this question, guys, let me just double check whether I'm sharing the right screen. Okay. To do this payback period, remember, draw the table with the column year, net cash flow, cumulative cash flow. Always start with year 0. I'm going to do it in thousands. So year 0, year 1, 2, 3, 4. Year 0, 6200. Year 1, 1200, 2200, 1200. Year 2, 2200. Year 3, 2500. 1700. So 6200. Okay, this is the one where I said it's a bit confusing for me to explain with words. So now I can show you. So 6200 plus 1200 is negative 5000. So 6200 plus 1200, okay, negative 5000. Now the same thing, plus 2200, 2800 plus 2500, this is negative 300, plus 1700, you get 1400. So the payback period is somewhere between year 3 and year 4, correct? Somewhere between year 3 and year 4. So remember to identify the year. It is the negative cumulative cash flow here. that means year 3. So year 3, your number of months is the negative cumulative cash flow divide by the next year positive cash flow, 300 over 1700 multiplied by 12, so equals to 300 over 1700 multiplied by 12 is 2 months. So your payback period is 3 years, 2 months. Now, if your examiner want it to be only in years, so what you do is, you don't have to, um, sorry guys, give me 1 minute. Okay, sorry, my laptop ran out of battery. Okay, you don't have to multiply by 12. You just take 3 years, and then when you divide 300 with 1.7, you get 0.18. So the number of years would be 3.18 years. So you can use only years, or you can use a combination of years and months. All right, so you choose what you want. You choose what the examiner is asking, sorry, not what you want. Okay, so if the examiner give you a certain way, you need to calculate it in the way the examiner asks. Okay, now this one I need to teach you first. Okay, so payback period is easy. So what it means is that when the company invests in this project, the initial investment would be repaid within 3 years and 2 months, or 3.18 years. All right, now let's try to do the king's question again. Or maybe I will finish this first before we go back to king's question. Okay, now, so just now what we did was we calculated the payback period. But if you notice, the cash flow from year 1 to year 4 were all non-constant cash flows. Okay, if it was non-constant cash flow, what you have to do is you have to follow this approach, right? Year, net cash flow, and cumulative cash flow. Assuming your cash flow is constant, you can actually use the formula method, but this is only for constant cash flow method only. Okay, so this one, maybe you can write this format is for non-constant cash flow, and this formula is for constant cash flows. All right, so that means when you do this, you are actually calculating the number of years directly. So this is the lecture example just now that I told you that I will do it later. So let's do it now. Illustration number 3. Initial investment is 5.8 million. Annual cash flows is 400,000. How do you calculate the payback period? You take initial investment over the cash flows. You get 14.5 years. Guys, 14.5 years is really long for you to get back your money. But nevertheless, okay, what I want to show you is that to do the formula method, you just take 5,800 divided by 400, you get 14.5 years. Now, if they ask you to convert this into months, it is 14 years and you take 0.5 multiply by 12, 6 months. All right. So now, it's quite simple. It's quite straightforward. There isn't anything that's actually very confusing. So if you look at this question, right, you would see, sorry, if you look at this slide, you would see here, what is the decision rule? So the decision rule is to accept the project or the option with the shortest payback period. So the logic is that you want to receive your money back faster than you expected, all right? So you want to choose the option that pays back much faster. Example, if it pays back within 2 years, that's great for you. Why? Because that is actually a very fast paying project. So whenever you make a comparison, you choose the project with the shortest payback period. Or if there is a target, that means they say that you need to accept the payback period within 4 years. So if your project pays within 4 years, then you will accept the project. Okay, now let's try to do the other question, the king's question. All right, here. Okay, so how will this now be different from the question that you have done just now? Okay, of course it's very different because this is a payback period question. The formula is entirely different. Okay, but now my question is, how do you do it? So what you need to do is you need to calculate the net cash flow on a yearly basis. So here you have cash inflow minus cash outflow, you get net cash flow. Now you have a constant net cash flow of 2,500 minus 500, so it's a constant net cash flow of 2,500 on a yearly basis. Okay, guys, I'm going to go to a different screen. I'm going to show you how to do it, and I'm going to show you both methods. That means I'm going to show you the method using the formula and also the table. So tabular method and formula method. Okay, payback period. King's Hospital, sorry. I'm going to show you method 1, table. Okay. To do my table, I need to first identify how many okay guys, I'll just draw it. Okay, so you need to identify the number of years for the King's Hotel. So it was 5 years, right? So year net cash flow, please remember this is net cash flow. That means cash inflow minus cash outflow. Please remember that. Cumulative cash flow. Okay, year 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Year 0, your initial investment was 8 million. Year 1 to year 5, 2,500. Okay. Your cumulative cash flow, 8,000, okay? Negative 8,000 plus 2,500, negative 5,500 plus 2,500, negative 3,000 plus another 2,500, negative 500, 2,000 and 4,500. All right. So to find your payback period will be the year in which your cash flow is cumulative cash flow is negative. So here the year will be in year 3. The months would be 500 divided by 2,500 multiplied by 12, which is 500 divided by 2,500 multiplied by 12. It's 2 months. So it's 3 years, 2 months, or 3.2 years. Guys, now go back to your question. King's Hospital. Let me share my screen. When you go back to King's Hospital, he said the target payback period is 4 years. That means if it reach or if it pays back lesser than 4 years, it means that you will accept the project now. So just now your ROCE was 23.53. Your payback period now is 3.2 years. Both of it is within the time frame or within the target that was given by the examiner. Hence, you will accept the project because you achieve the target. Okay. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward. Actually, there really isn't anything that is complicated. It's very, very easy and very, very straightforward. Now, to continue with my payback period, so I've done 3 things here. I've taught you the definition, the formula, the decision rule. Now, let's talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of the payback period. Okay, so what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of a payback period? Number 1, clearly it ignores the time value of money. So the time value of your money is not incorporated in the calculation. Hence, that is why you call it a non-discounted cash flow technique. Number 2, the problem with the payback period is that you may or you ignore the cash flow after the payback period. So why I say you ignore cash flow after the payback period? So if you look back at King's Hotel just now, all right, you will see that you only look it up until year 3. If there were more cash flows from year 4, year 5, it was completely ignored. All right. Guys, I just remember I forgot to show you the second method. Never mind. I'll continue with the advantage, disadvantage. Then I'll show you second method. Yeah, I'm so sorry I forgot. Now, so when you ignore the cash flow after the payback period, you're actually ignoring potential cash flows that can be generated after the payback period. So sometimes even though you may reject a project because the payback period is longer, but you never know that the cash flow that you earn after the payback period might actually be substantially higher than the cash flow that you earn before or during the project payback period. All right. Another problem is that when you choose projects with a shorter payback period, it may encourage the company to have investments on excessive investments on project with a short term, right? So it's quite difficult. It's not simple. It's not straightforward, because as a company, you don't want too many short-term projects. You want to have a combination of short-term and long-term projects. So you don't want to have excessive focus on the long-term, short-term projects, right? Now, um, how about the advantages of the cash payback period? Simple, straightforward, because you just need to know what is the format formula. It's also very easy to understand, because it's quite straightforward. You're just seeing when you get back the money that you have invested. Another good thing about the payback period is the fact that it uses the cash flow basis compared to the profit. So you're actually looking at the cash that is channeled to the company, and as a result of using the payback period method, it will actually act as a screening device. That means you can screen out project that takes too long to pay. Like just now we did 14.5 years. That is way too long, right? So you can screen out those kind of projects, and you can focus on project that actually can pay you back within a shorter timeline. Of course, there are pros and cons of using the method, but guys, please remember that you must be able to make a wise decision on which method you choose and why you choose the said method. Okay, now so with that, we are done with the payback period, but I still owe you one more thing. I owe you the method number 2 to calculate the payback period. So I'm going to reshare my screen. I'm so sorry. Okay, so if I use method 2, the formula method, how do I use it? Okay, initial investment 8,000. Your net cash flow is 2,500. So 8,000 divided by 2,500 is 3.2 years. Can you see that if you have constant cash flow, instead of using the tabular method, I would rather use the formula method, because it is so straightforward and so easy to calculate. I don't need to put in extra effort and extra time to calculate it. But please remember that you only can do this if your cash flow is constant. If your cash flow is non-constant, it really is not possible for you to use this method. Okay, now let me see. Okay, so with this, actually we have calculated, or we have completed the area, the two areas, which is payback period and your ROCE. The next part that we will do is your discounted cash flow techniques. So there are 3 techniques under discounted cash flow techniques: IRR, discounted payback period, and net present value. So we will keep building on the difficulty as time passes, but for now we are still at the easy topics, okay, or easy subtopics. So I will see you in the next video for your discounted cash flow techniques. All right.